All right. Good evening, Barnegat. All right, it's been a little while. I don't remember exactly how long. Probably at least a good 3 or 4 months. We'll just give it a minute here. Let people jump on. Make sure our comment thread is working. What is up, Chris Barlow? Good to see you. Let's see what else we got. T. Welcome back. It's good to be back. Thank you. All right. Great number of people on. So I tried to tone down the lighting so you don't have to stare at the reflection off my bald head all night. And trying it from the desk, which is, anybody who knows me knows it's hard for me to sit in one place, so this will be a fun challenge. Same format we usually do. Just going to jump right into some quick updates on a couple of issues that are kind of important, what's going on around town and surrounding law enforcement right now, especially as it affects us here in Barnegat, and then we'll open a good old Q&A and hope for the usual good exchanges we have here. So I want to start off with talking about this, the marijuana legislation and how that is specifically going to impact things in Barnegat. What I want to make sure we make clear right off the bat is that, as both as the police chief here, certainly as the chair of the Public Relations Committee for the State Chiefs Association, we've been clear. We were very supportive of deciding to legalize cannabis for adults, which is what, if you're one of the 70% of people in New Jersey who voted for that, and someone who supports that, that's what you voted for. You voted to legalize cannabis for adults. What the legislature did was pass a disaster of a law that essentially, for lack of a better, it legalized marijuana and alcohol. Not sure where alcohol came into the picture, but it essentially legalized marijuana and alcohol for kids. The part that got plenty of legs in the media and what parents were so upset about was the provision that was in the original law that said, if a police officer came across someone who was under the age of 21, certainly under the age of 18, in possession or using marijuana or alcohol, that we had to simply give them a warning, and that we were actually prohibited from giving that warning to the parent. We were prohibited, actually under threat of criminal prosecution, from advising the parents. Obviously, that didn't go over really well with all the parents, certainly not the parents I spoke to here in town. So what the legislature just did with a cleanup bill is they kind of corrected what they thought was, I guess, giving them the bad publicity, and said, oh no, okay, they not only can they give the parent the warning the first time, we're going to make them give the parent the warning the first time. Well, that's great, except for the fact that the rest of the flaws in the legislation pretty much guarantee that the police are only in incredibly rare circumstances ever going to approach or get involved with a juvenile in possession of marijuana or alcohol, which frankly is what I think they were going for. So they got what they wanted. I just don't think it's necessarily what you wanted, or the 70% of people who voted to legalize cannabis for adults wanted. So essentially what they did was, with this legislation, they said that odor, when it comes to a juvenile, that police officers cannot use odor as any type of reasonable suspicion to detain that juvenile, to investigate further, to search the juvenile, to do anything. Which means if you call us and say, hey, I think this 12-year-old is out smoking weed on the playground at school, well, mostly when we deal with those kind of offenses in the past, we know that it's marijuana is we can smell it, right? A smell we're certainly all going to get used to here in the near future. We can no longer use that, which means we can't approach the juvenile in the first place. They took it a step further and said, hey, you also can't ask a juvenile for consent to search them, and that includes people all the way up to 20 years old. So apparently 20-year-olds can't give consent anymore. We are not allowed to arrest, detain, or have any contact with a juvenile longer than is reasonably necessary. I'm not sure what reasonably necessary, what that bar is. And if we run afoul, if a good faith, well-intentioned officer who thinks, oh gosh, that's a 12-year-old with a can of beer smoking pot, probably want to try to get that kid some help, make sure the parents know. If the officer, in good faith, unintentionally runs afoul of any of the confusing, ambiguous parts of the law, the officer is subject to a third-degree criminal deprivation of civil rights charge. And for anyone who thinks I'm over dramatizing this when I say that officers are just going to steer clear of any kids that are using marijuana or alcohol, I'm going to read to you. It's short, word for word, in the Attorney General's guide that they sent to law enforcement, the frequently asked questions. The section that deals with handling juveniles, they started off, this is the Attorney General's office, started off with this statement: law enforcement officers must be cautious when they encounter an individual under the age of 21 who is in possession of marijuana, hashish, cannabis, or alcohol. So we start off by telling the cops, hey, you better be really careful when you deal with anyone who could be underage, because again, another part of this, we can't ask them, how old they are. We're not allowed to search them. So to give you another example, we may see a juvenile with what appears to be marijuana, and as we walk up, the juvenile takes the marijuana, takes a bag of marijuana, sticks it in their pocket, and we say, hey, you're not allowed to have that. Give it to me. They go, nope, not giving it to you. Absolutely nothing we can do about it. Can't search them, can't take them into custody, literally can't do a thing. So, and if an officer, like I said, tries to do the right thing and, runs afoul of any of this, they thought the kid was 23, but the kid turns out to be 20, and they ask him for consent, they just committed a potential third-degree deprivation of civil rights offense. So this is going to be an incredible disincentive for police officers. I don't know a lot of police officers that are going to risk their jobs, their careers, their well-being, their freedom to just basically write a warning because we've decriminalized it. So even if the cops want to take that risk personally, first offense is a warning, second offense is a warning, and we have to give them some educational material for community support programs that they certainly don't have to attend. And a third offense is, you guessed it, a warning. And then we have to, we make sure we give the parents that community support group pamphlet and let the community support group know so they can reach out. But there's no obligation for any treatment. There's no obligation for anything. So again, where that's going to come into play for us is, when people are complaining because there's kids smoking pot at the bathing beach or using marijuana on school property or outside your house or when you're standing outside of Acme, the police department's hands are essentially tied, and there is very little, if anything, that we can do about it. So, and for the officers who try to do the right thing and with good faith try to step in and do what we always do, which was act as a kind of a bridge and a collaborative aspect between the parents and the other resources that are available and the kid, to try to help the kid and steer them clear of that. If we try to do that and we make a mistake, even if it's not intentional, even if it's in good faith, you're facing a third-degree deprivation of civil rights charge. So, so the Ocean County Chiefs Association has launched a change.org petition to try to get that part of the legislation corrected. And again, I want to reiterate, this is not about adults using cannabis. Not about that at all. Voters overwhelmingly voted to legalize that. Chiefs Association supports that. This is not about that. This is about a stark overreach that the legislature essentially legalized marijuana and alcohol for kids and took away really any realistic ability for the police to investigate that. So, when you hear, oh no, they fixed the law, parents are allowed to get the warnings now. Well, I don't know what warning you're going to get because the police officers are going to be loath to get involved in the first place. Even when they do, there's no way for us to know who we're dealing with. If we walk up to the kid and say, hey, what's your name? John Smith from 123 Main Street. again, we're not allowed to detain or otherwise arrest the kid or force them to, give us the illegal contraband they have. So there's no there. So I don't know what warnings parents are going to get, even though they're allowed to get them now. So that's kind of the big mess surrounding this. That doesn't even touch on the issue that we certainly don't have any way to really effectively enforce people who are under the influence right now. So again, when we talk about, all the different positions of responsibility in society, people we deal with that we probably don't want to be under the influence, because again, our concern here is not with responsible use. Our concern is with irresponsible use that causes problems for people. A whole other area where we really don't have any guidance or resolution. So, hopeful is probably the wrong word to use, because I don't suspect the legislature is going to pass 2 cleanup bills. I think they went, nope, we fixed it. Parents can be warned now, and now we're just going to sit back and wait for this mess, and I guess they'll be forced to clean it up at a later time. But we want you to understand that, because I suspect, and even if it's not in Barnegat, it might be while you're over on the island this summer at the beach, I suspect you're going to find yourself, or you're going to know people who find themselves in a situation where they're going to have kids using, smoking, and they're gonna not want that going on around them, want the kids to be helped, and they're gonna call the police and find out that we can't really do anything, and we don't want that to reflect back on law enforcement. We're not doing something because we don't care or because we don't want to. It's just simply our hands have been tied by these ill-conceived laws that frankly the voters didn't vote for. So that's my 2 cents on where we're at with the marijuana situation. I'm sure we'll get some entertaining comments here when I jump in the comment thread, but I'll circle to those at the end. I'm going to jump in and out of COVID quickly. Again, really going back to really was the reason we started all these. In town, we've continued to just really not have some of the problems that other places have had. People have been generally responsible, carrying on their lives, doing what they can do to support the local businesses. I think we've handled this really well as a town. Really haven't had any problems or issues. Just like every place else in New Jersey right now, our cases are certainly up the last couple of weeks. The last 7 days, we had 74 new cases. We had 13 new cases today. Again, they're higher, in the past week than they were a few weeks before that. We had been kind of in more of a lull, and I suspect we're gonna see that continue for a little while. On the vaccination front, we had worked with the school district to make sure that if we had the opportunity to get a vaccination center in town, that we had everything in place to do that. School district, school board, Dr. Latwis were great. Working with Mayor Billy and the committee to get that in place, and the county was fully supportive, and we're still kind of in the same holding pattern, which is there just simply isn't enough vaccine available to the county for them to be able to stand up anything in addition to what they already have. So should that time come, I hope it comes sooner than later, that the county does have those, the increased availability of vaccines, everything that we need to stand something up here for our residents to make it a little easier and more convenient for those who want to get it, it's here. On the police department front, people ask about the vaccinations, how that went. We're about a little more than 50% of the officers chose to get vaccinated here. I can tell you we have had more officers test positive in the last month or so than probably we've had almost for the entire duration of the pandemic. We haven't had anybody who was vaccinated test positive yet. Again, we've been set up for this. This is unfortunately this is kind of old hat for us. We've got great protocols in place. It's been working well. We don't have any impact on staffing, and very fortunately, our officers who have gotten COVID have recovered without any serious problems, which obviously is what we're most concerned with here. So everything is fine on that front. I'm going to jump off of COVID and talk about something we're really excited about here. This started in a conversation with the school district and some of the school administrators not really that long ago, and we talked about how when we're trying to recruit for the police department, the two big things we're always focused on is having a police department that is representative of the community we serve. And frankly, we love the idea of having homegrown talent here, right? Kids who grew up here, who are already invested in the town, love the town, trying to find them a path into employment here, the ones who want to serve. And it's really hard to get a job here, right? We talk about it all the time. Our last test we had in an era where it's really hard, frankly, to find applicants. A lot of places are struggling. We had 400 applicants, 398 applicants for our police department, and out of those, we only interview about the top 10%. So it's really hard just to score well enough to even get an interview. And then out of that top 10%, those 35 to 40 people we interview, generally we only end up hiring, 2, 4, sometimes 5 people off that list. So it is incredibly challenging to get here. So one of the thoughts we had was we see what a great job the school district does with the junior ROTC program, kind of taking kids who have an interest in potentially serving the military and getting them exposure to that life and that discipline. And we thought, hey, couldn't we do something like that for police, where we kind of introduce kids who are interested to a type of law enforcement track, not something where they have to, commit to it full time in a super select program like something that the county does with their with the public safety academy they have there, but something where the kids can just get a taste of it, maybe learn a little bit about it if it's something they're interested in, and if they do participate in that maybe we get them kind of more of a fast track into the interview process here, so we get a chance to get a better look at those kids. So the school district did a Herculean effort, not just to really set the framework for the program up, but to get it approved through the school board, get it approved for the curriculum, so that kids could actually get credit for it. I'm going to read you their description because it's much better articulated than I would probably be able to here, but it'll give you a good idea of what it is. It's called SHIELD. It's an acronym, stands for Student High Intensity Enrichment and Leadership Development. Programs intended to provide meaningful instruction to students who wish to engage in coursework related to the field of law enforcement and eventually pursue a career within the law enforcement field. This program has been specifically created alongside the police department and school district administration and has been tailored to meet the needs of the Barnegat community while still ensuring that adequate curricular coverage suffices as the educational prerequisite to potentially serve as a contributing member of the Barnegat Police Department. Completion of the SHIELD program may meet educational criteria to enter the workforce in the Barnegat Police Department. SHIELD program will provide life skill and formal leadership development. So beginning in the fall of 2021, students with expressed interest in the SHIELD program will have schedules that reflect that interest, indicating enrollment in a full year 5-credit introduction to SHIELD class, aligning with their AB block schedule throughout the entire year. SHIELD 1, thanks again to the hard work of the school district, meets the New Jersey Department of Education mandated career technical education high school graduation requirement. So excited to have this stood up in a really short amount of time, because frankly it was a lot of work to do and we were afraid we wouldn't be able to get it done for fall of 21, and full thanks to the school district for pulling that off. And I understand that they already have a dozen students who were interested in this and have signed up for the program. So our hope is twofold. One, we hope that this is going to be a great way to get our homegrown talent here, kids from town who are interested in giving back, serving the community, and doing this for a living, kind of getting them a fast track into the police department. And two, frankly, we think this can serve as a model for other communities because all the police departments are having the same struggle. They want a department that reflects the community they serve, and we always like to have people who are vested in the community. So really excited about the program, and more on that as it develops. Next, I just want to touch very briefly. It's that time of year again, and it got, like everything else in our lives, it got kind of put on hold last year for COVID. but the Police Unity Tour is going to be coming up this year. Team Barnegat, PBA 296, is going to be, again, having a team riding to Washington, D.C. to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial. And, you jump online, Facebook, PBA page, and, you'll see the different ways that you can support their effort. And it's a great thing that they do. It's I don't know if they're coming down the east or the west side of the state this year, but any of you who were here a couple years ago and saw it come through town, it's a really great sight to see. So please support our team that's doing that. And last, certainly not least, I want to talk about big day tomorrow for the agency. We'll be switching over our dispatch center tomorrow from the Ocean County Sheriff's Department to Stafford Police Department. So I'm going to touch briefly on why we're doing that. And, the issue will always come up. People want to know why we don't have local dispatch. I can touch on that real quickly too. First and foremost, I want to thank Sheriff Mastronardi and all the personnel up at the Sheriff's Department for taking care of us since back in February of 2016 when we switched over there. When we made that switch back then, one of the big concerns was kind of losing that local dispatch, that local connection, and frankly, we'd been looking for a way to restore that, but in a way that didn't break the bank, because once we got set up in that new budget setup, it's just simply not financially feasible to bring dispatch back in-house. In a perfect world, I would love to do it, but frankly, it just is not feasible with the budget that we work under. So what we came up with is, I think, a great hybrid solution, which is we met with Stafford. Chief Delane over there was willing to have the conversation, and because our two departments work together so much, it made sense for him as much as it did for me. And something that you don't see too often in government, which is the business administrator in Stafford, our business administrator, Stafford's committee, Barnegat's Township committee, everybody got together and really without much consternation or headaches, came up with a good plan that worked for both towns. So we're really excited to go over to Stafford Dispatch tomorrow. Again, just it gives us a closer connection, more of a local dispatch type setup. Our officers are working together all the time anyway. When we get busy and we're hopping over here, Stafford is always there to back us up, and we do the same for them when they're busy over there. Our crime reduction unit and Stafford's drug unit often are working together, sharing information. So it's just kind of a natural progression of our agencies working together. The question as to why can't we get local dispatch back? And I think I touched on it. It just simply is not financially feasible for us. It would cost us at least double, probably closer to about 2.5 times what we'll pay Stafford for us to have in-house dispatch. Again, decisions were made in the past based on financial reasons, budgetary constraints. And regardless of why that happened back then, it happened. And we think have a good solution here that kind of gives us that local connection, but with a way that still is fiscally responsible. So for the end user, for you, really nothing different. You still call the police department number the same you did. It's just instead of ringing at the Ocean County Sheriff's Department, it's going to ring over at Stafford PD. They have a great team over there. They have a great setup. They have been exceedingly helpful in working with us to get everything set up and make sure that we have a smooth transition tomorrow. And at the same time, your 911 calls, when we had in-house dispatch, for those of you who don't know, 911 calls always are routed to the County Sheriff's Department first, and then they get a third-party caller down to local dispatch. When obviously the County Sheriff's Department was dispatching for us for the last 5 years, 911 calls went to the county answer center, county call center, And with Stafford PD, 911 calls initially are still going to go to the county call center. It's how it's always been since 911 started in Ocean County, early in my career. So nothing really changing there. Again, it's just going to give us more of a local connection with dispatch. So, good luck to everybody tomorrow. Appreciate everybody's patience as we move forward here, but we're excited about, again, getting that little bit of local connection back, but doing it in a way that doesn't break the bank. So that is all I had on my list of updates. I'm going to start rolling through the many comments that I'm sure I'll have in here. And again, like always, if I miss your comment on here or scroll over you, I'll get an answer to you when I go through these tonight and tomorrow. Let's see. Makes everything harder on law. Yeah, the government, they're definitely not making things easier for law enforcement, Angela, that's for sure. Let's see. Susan, I can appreciate your comment that you think, all parents are resourceful enough to take care of everything themselves. But if that was the case, we would probably handle about 7,000 less calls for service a year. So the statistics don't really support that assertion. So, and I would have to look into that ordinance and why it was set up that way. I don't have a better answer for you right now, but I'll take a look at it and see why. Great question, Robin Norcross. What if the minor is driving under the influence? So I should have talked about this. That's my bad. So 2 instances where you can absolutely count on us being involved with marijuana, cannabis, alcohol. Instance number 1 is operation under the influence. If we see someone, regardless of age, that we believe is operating a vehicle under the influence, the law still allows us to conduct an investigation to determine if they are impaired, and if they are, then they can be arrested. The problem we're going to have, frankly, just like other states have gone through that have legalized, is the technology hasn't really caught up with the legalization. So there's no really easy way for us to prove that you are impaired by marijuana. The only way for us to do it right now and support it in the courts is with the testimony and the investigative use of a drug recognition expert, a certification that is not terribly easy to get, and there's frankly not a lot of them. We have 1 DRE in our police department. There are a lot of police departments that don't have any DREs. So the chances that when we have someone driving under the influence, that the 1 DRE we have is going to be working, not really too likely. The county's done a good job putting together a kind of a call out list so we can try to leverage the DREs that we do have in the county, and we're going to do the best we can with that. But it's certainly something that we'll be happy if somebody can just invent a marijuana breathalyzer or something like that. That would be great if our STEM kids could work on that. So that's for driving under the influence. The other time would be what we call the community caretaking function. So in other words, if we have someone, regardless of age, who appears to be so intoxicated or impaired that they are a danger to themselves, somebody stumbling down Route 9, things like that, then we're certainly going to take the steps we have to take to get that person in a safe location, get that medical treatment. So those are the 2 instances where we would get involved. Yeah, the law that says that covers we can't ask for consent, all the things that we're prohibited from doing under threat of a 3rd-degree criminal charge, all pertains to juveniles, John, not to adults. Let's see. Yeah. Bud and Dolly, that's what we used to do. If we had kids that were using things, illegal drugs, dangerous drugs, alcohol underage, that's what we typically did, right? You'd go connect with the parents, let them know what was going on, so the parents could be parents and take care of it. We can't do that anymore because we can't really start the investigation or contact the kids in the first place feasibly. Let's see. Sorry, scrolling as fast as I can here. Yeah, I apologize for those of you who say you're getting a choppy feed. I am on the best Wi-Fi line we have here in the PD. So hopefully it clears up, or hopefully it'll be clear on the replay. Yeah, Patty, I would love to bring it back in-house. I really would. In-house dispatch is great. Again, it just simply isn't financially feasible. It would require us to, pour another $500,000 into already what is the largest budget item in the township. So PD's a huge chunk of the budget. I say it all the time. We're an expensive commodity. We try to make sure you get the bang for your buck that you deserve, but adding another $500,000 to the budget is simply just not. I don't think it's realistic. Let's see. Reading through the thank yous. Thank you for the thank yous. Just trying to find more questions. Good question, Beatrice. Are we going to do the Junior Police Academy this year? It's something we certainly want to do. A lot of that depends on where we are with COVID. The gathering limits are still pretty small, both inside and outside. That's something that we have everything we need ready to go to do that. The framework is there. We just simply need to, make sure the conditions are right to do it. I don't know that we'll get there this summer. I hope we do, but we'll hopefully be able to get some clarity on that as we roll through spring here. Is there an argument against the position? I don't know which position we're talking about, Michael. Help me out with that. We talking about the marijuana position or in-house dispatch? I'm moving backwards a little bit. Make sure I didn't. So, Pat, how will underage drinking be handled with this new legislation? They lumped alcohol in with marijuana, so they essentially decriminalized it. So it's a warning now. But like I said, they created such criminal legal jeopardy for the officers that it disincentivizes the officers really from wanting to get involved in the first place because, again, there's so many legal pitfalls, even if they're trying to do the right thing for the right reasons and make a mistake, that it really just disincentivizes them from doing it. Renee, great news that the flea market will be back at the dock. That's great. Yep, sorry for those of you who are getting the freeze up. For the marijuana one, Michael, yeah, so the counterpoint, my understanding is what the legislators didn't want was juveniles being exposed to criminal records and interactions with the police because they were using marijuana or alcohol. So they made the decision that they wanted to create a framework where essentially they remove the police. So defunding the police doesn't play so well in New Jersey. Doesn't get a lot of support. It doesn't poll well. So what they've done is essentially create legislation to make sure that really they remove police from being able to interact in those scenarios. Joel Michael, can anything be done about the giant inflatable rats? Yeah, so those are there because apparently their claim is the contractor who won the bid to build the new police department and town hall apparently isn't using union labor for some things. At least that was their allegation. So that's why they come and they stand up the inflatables there. So really, what we're doing is we're trying to walk that line between obviously protecting their First Amendment rights to protest and display that, but of course we have to do that balancing it with safety and the way the law works. So I know we talked about the coffin that they had out there today. At the end of the day, looked like that was a little bit of a sightline issue, so that's going to be moved tomorrow. But again, at the end of the day, as long as what they're doing isn't interfering with traffic or causing a sightline danger. Again, we're trying to support everyone's constitutional rights to express themselves and do that legally and safely. So let's see. All right, I think I'm pretty caught up. That's it's about our usual time frame for one of these. I'll look into the choppiness issue and we'll see if we can correct that for next time. And again, we'll try to get back to these maybe every other month or so. I miss doing these, frankly, and I actually ran into a couple people in the community that I spoke to yesterday that were like, hey, can we go back to doing those? I was like, we're overdue, so let's go ahead and do it. So we'll get back to doing this once every month or two. And if I missed your questions in here, I will make sure to get back and get you an answer. And as always, appreciate everyone's support, all the great job everybody's doing in town, keeping this a fun place it is to be and to work and to live. And everybody have a safe spring, and I'll talk to everyone this summer. All right, take care of yourselves.